Dark chosen ones, 5 gifts from God you were born with but are unaware of. Have you ever felt like you didn't belong anywhere, not in your family, not among your friends, not even in your own skin? Maybe you've walked through life carrying an invisible weight, a feeling that you were meant for something far greater but couldn't explain what. Maybe you've been through pain that doesn't seem to have a reason, seen things others couldn't see, felt things others couldn't feel. If you've ever wondered why your life has felt like a battleground since birth, I want you to listen carefully. You might be one of the dark chosen ones, those mysterious souls sent here with a divine purpose, cloaked in spiritual warfare, misunderstood even by themselves. There are people born into this world with light so bright it blinds, easily embraced by society for their positivity, charisma, and charm. And then there are those of us who feel like we were born into the shadows. We weren't gifted with easy paths or the love of many. Instead, we were handed silence, isolation, and storms. But here's the truth that most never realize. God often hides his strongest warriors in the darkest places. If you found yourself constantly battling inner demons, constantly questioning your worth, constantly being underestimated, you are not cursed. You are gifted beyond comprehension. You have been entrusted with sacred powers, gifts from God that were placed deep inside you from the beginning. But the paradox is, these gifts remain dormant unless you struggle, unless you lose everything, unless you are forced to go deep within the places most people never dare look.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
So why doesn't anyone tell you this? Because the world doesn't understand the dark chosen ones. You're the kind of person who can walk into a room and feel the energy instantly shift. You notice things others ignore. Your intuition is so sharp it scares you at times. You've survived betrayals that would have crushed others. You've rebuilt yourself in silence. You've healed wounds without applause. And you've done it all while questioning if you were even worthy of love. But that's the first gift, the one we never talk about, spiritual sensitivity. You were born with the ability to feel the unseen, to sense the truth behind people's words, to hear what isn't being said. You know when someone's lying. You know when danger is near. You know when something divine is happening, even if no one else sees it. That's not paranoia. That's spiritual radar. It's the mark of someone chosen to stand at the intersection of light and dark and never flinch. But with that sensitivity comes pain, deep pain, because you also feel your own wounds more deeply. Rejection cuts you like glass. Loneliness feels like drowning. You don't get over things easily. And this leads us to the second hidden gift, emotional alchemy. You see, ordinary people suppress their pain, but you transform it. Your sorrow becomes art. Your heartbreak becomes wisdom. Your rage becomes purpose. You might not even notice it happening, but every time life breaks you down, you rebuild yourself stronger, and something sacred is born from the ashes. This is why people are drawn to you even when they don't understand you. You carry a depth that others crave but fear. You are a mirror to their unhealed wounds, and that's why they sometimes reject you. Not because you're flawed, but because you remind them of their own shadows. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like your mind was not your own? Like your thoughts were too vast, too intense, too ancient for your age? That's not madness. That's the third gift, divine intelligence. You weren't just born smart. You were born with access to truths that others have to study for years to grasp. Your visions, your dreams, your insights, they carry codes that are not of this world. But because they don't match the standard educational systems, you've probably been told you're too much, too intense, or too abstract. But that's because you were never meant to think like the world. You were meant to redefine it. Still, we rebel. We resist the calling. We doubt ourselves, and that resistance becomes our prison. But here's the twist: our resistance is also where the fourth gift hides: spiritual resilience. You are the kind of soul who can be shattered and still shine. You break, but you don't stay broken. You grieve, but you don't drown. You collapse, but you don't quit. That ability to keep rising, even when no one is watching, even everything inside you wants to stay down, that's not just strength, that's divine favor. God doesn't give resilience like that to just anyone. It's proof that you're not just a chosen one, you are a dark flame, forged in silence, born to endure. And finally, the fifth gift, the one you're probably most unaware of, is sacred influence. You don't need a stage. You don't need followers. Your energy alone changes people. You've probably had strangers open up to you without knowing why. You've probably inspired people you didn't even know were watching. Your existence alone is a catalyst for transformation. But because it's subtle, because it's not celebrated, you underestimate it. You think you're invisible. But let me tell you something extraordinary. The most powerful forces in the universe are invisible: gravity, time, spirit. And your energy is part of that force. You were born not just to survive, but to awaken others. And the more you align with your true power, the more that influence magnifies. So here's the question you must ask yourself today. What if everything you've hated about yourself was actually holy? What if your sensitivity, your pain, your intensity, your loneliness, what if all of it was coded with sacred meaning? What if your entire life has been a divine setup, not to punish you but to prepare you? You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are not lost. You are a dark chosen one, and your time of awakening has come. The shadowed flame within, how your pain conceals divine power. There's a kind of fire that doesn't burn with light, it burns with silence. It doesn't illuminate rooms, it illuminates souls. And that flame, that raw, sacred power, lives inside you. But here's the mystery: it only reveals itself through pain. Not the kind of pain that comes and goes. I'm talking about the kind of pain that lingers in your bones, that wakes you up at night, that makes you question your very existence. If you've ever felt that kind of ache, the kind that doesn't seem to have a name, that's not dysfunction, that's divine fire. That's the shadowed flame within, and it is not a curse. It is a calling. See, as dark chosen ones, we are not given easy lives. We are not handed comfort or applause. Instead, we are offered wounds. Not because God is cruel, but because God is intentional. Pain is not sent to weaken us, it's sent to wake us. Your suffering is not random. It is alchemical. It is sacred. It is a crucible designed to burn away everything that is not your truth. And when that fire finishes its work, what remains is indestructible. But here's the part that most people never realize. Pain is not just something to survive. It's something to mine. There are treasures buried in your suffering: wisdom, power, creative force. You've probably noticed this without even realizing it. After your deepest heartbreak, you spoke more honestly. After your greatest loss, you loved with more depth. After your most brutal failure, you began to see yourself more clearly. That's not coincidence. That's transformation. Pain shatters the ego, and in the ruins, the soul finally speaks. Let me ask you something, and I want you to sit with this. What if the very things that broke you were actually sent to build you into something eternal? What if your trauma isn't a flaw in your story, but the sacred ink that writes your purpose? We often try to escape our pain, numb it, hide it, or silence it. But what we miss is this: pain is a portal. And the deeper you go into it with awareness, the more of your hidden self you will uncover. You were born with a depth that scares people. Have you noticed that? That you feel too much, care too much, know too much. It's not that you're too much, it's that the world is used to shallow waters, and you are the ocean. Pain has carved those depths into you, and now you carry a force that others can't define. But just because they can't define it doesn't mean it's not divine. And here's the irony. The more you try to fit in, the more that fire dims. The more you deny your darkness, the more lost you feel. Because your power doesn't live in pretending to be light. It lives in owning your shadows, mastering the chaos within you, and learning to walk through this world as both storm and sanctuary. That's what makes Dark Chosen Ones so rare. We are not here to be palatable. We are here to be powerful. We are not here to be accepted by the world. We are here to change it. Now think about this. Every time you've hit rock bottom, every time you've been abandoned, misunderstood, betrayed, you didn't just survive. You transcended. Even if no one noticed. Even if you didn't celebrate yourself, you got back up. And that act, that silent rising, is spiritual warfare. Every time you rise, the darkness that tried to destroy you trembles. Because you are becoming what you were always meant to be, not a victim of your pain, but a channel for divine power. This is your awakening moment. Your pain is not in vain. It's not meaningless. It's the sacred proof that you are being refined. And what emerges from that process is not weakness, it's wisdom, warrior wisdom. The kind that doesn't need to shout. The kind that doesn't need to prove itself. The kind that walks into a room and shifts the energy just by existing. You, Dark Chosen One, are not broken. You are becoming. Becoming more honest, more aware, more aligned. And as you continue to walk through the fire, don't pray for it to stop. Pray for the strength to keep walking. Because on the other side of that pain is your power. And once you touch it, once you own it, you will no longer ask why you were chosen. You will remember that you always were. The invisible authority, how your presence alone carries divine permission. There is something undeniable about you, something that no one can quite put their finger on. You've walked into rooms and felt eyes turn, not out of vanity, but because your energy arrived before your body did. It's not about beauty or power in the traditional sense. It's not about charisma or charm. It's something deeper, something older, something eternal. A sacred vibration that lingers in your silence. And this is your invisible authority. Not given by men, not earned through titles, but infused into your being by God Himself. You see, most people believe authority comes from the outside, from status, credentials, recognition. But as a Dark Chosen One, your authority doesn't need validation. It comes from within. It's a spiritual fingerprint that marks you as someone who carries divine permission to speak, to shift, to awaken. Even when you say nothing, your presence disrupts patterns. People sense it. Some are drawn to it. Others are threatened by it. But few can ignore it. And this is why your life has never been normal, because you were never meant to blend in. You were born to stand out in the unseen. There's a reason you've always felt like an outsider. You weren't here to follow the world's rules. You were here to rewrite them. But the world doesn't like what it can't control. So you've been silenced, questioned, doubted even by yourself. You've walked through seasons where you felt invisible. But your invisibility was never a lack of value, it was a form of divine protection. God was shielding the authority inside you until you were strong enough to carry it with humility, not ego. Until your spirit was deep enough to hold power without being corrupted by it. This invisible authority is not about dominance. It's about resonance. When you speak truth, it hits people in a place they didn't know existed. When you walk in alignment, it activates something ancient in others, something they forgot was there. Your energy doesn't entertain the surface, it calls forth the soul. And that's why many people don't know how to handle you. You're not loud, but you're commanding. You're not forceful, but you're immovable. You don't shout, you shift reality just by being fully yourself. Ask yourself this: have you ever noticed how people come to you for advice, even when you feel lost? How others lean on your strength, even when you're barely holding on? That's not just empathy. That's not just being a good friend. That's assignment. You were born with a frequency that heals, awakens, and guides even when you're still healing yourself. And that paradox is part of your sacred design. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to embody truth, to walk through fire and carry the fragrance of survival, to cry and still lead, to break and still bless. But with this kind of authority comes responsibility. You're not allowed to play small anymore. You're not allowed to mute yourself to make others comfortable. You're not allowed to shrink because someone else is intimidated by your presence. You carry too much light, even if it's veiled in shadow. And the longer you deny it, the more misaligned your life will feel. Your anxiety, your restlessness, your spiritual agitation, it's not because you're lost. It's because you're resisting the weight of your own calling. There's a moment in every dark chosen one's life when they stop running not from the world, but from themselves. When they look in the mirror and finally see the reflection not of pain, but of power. And when that moment comes, authority becomes effortless. You stop trying to convince people. You stop trying to explain yourself. You simply walk in it, like a river that doesn't argue with the rocks it flows past them. Like the moon that doesn't beg for attention, it just shines. That's you. You are not here to force. You are here to flow from your essence. So I want you to remember this: your presence is not accidental. The way you move, the way you speak, the way you exist, it's all part of a sacred architecture. You don't need to be louder. You need to be clearer. You don't need more followers. You need more alignment. Because when you are in alignment with your truth, your authority becomes undeniable. Not because people approve of you, but because the universe recognizes you. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be legendary in spirit, to awaken dormant souls, to carry frequencies others pray to feel. And the best part, you don't even have to try. You just have to remember who you are. The awakening of the divine rebel, why your difference is the key to your destiny. There's a rebellion that doesn't look like fire and fury. It looks like quiet refusal. It looks like not belonging to systems that never made sense to your soul. It looks like the inability to follow a path just because everyone else does. If you've spent most of your life feeling like you were on the outside looking in, it's not because you failed to fit in, it's because you were never meant to. You are what I call a divine rebel. Not someone who breaks rules for the sake of chaos, but someone who was designed to redefine what rules even mean. From the moment you entered this world, something in you knew that the script was wrong. That what people called normal was actually numbness. That conformity was killing creativity. That following tradition without questioning it was a betrayal of truth. But you didn't always have the words for this. So you felt like the odd one. You were labeled difficult, intense, too emotional, too sensitive, too deep. But what if those labels were actually signs of sacred difference? What if your inability to blend in wasn't a flaw, but a divine clue pointing toward your destiny? You weren't sent here to mimic the world. You were sent here to remake it. You carry a blueprint encoded deep in your soul that doesn't match anyone else's. And that's why your life has never been easy, because pioneers don't walk on paved roads. They walk through wilderness. They carve paths where none existed. Your difference is not your burden. It is your assignment. And the sooner you stop apologizing for it, the sooner you'll activate the full force of your power. Let me ask you something. What if your weirdness is actually your wisdom? What if your spiritual hunger, your fascination with the unseen, your obsession with meaning, your deep discontent with surface-level life, what if all of that is God whispering, you are here to bring something new? The world doesn't evolve through imitation. It evolves through revolution of spirit. And you, divine rebel, are the spark of that revolution. But with this calling comes loneliness. You've probably felt it for years. The ache of being too different to relate, too deep to be understood. That loneliness isn't punishment. It's a sacred cocoon. A place where God isolates you not to hurt you, but to reveal you to yourself. Don't rush that process. Don't numb it. Sit in it. Let it refine your voice. Because when your voice emerges from that silence, it won't just be yours, it will be ancestral. It will be cosmic. It will be the voice of the divine echoing through human form. You don't need external validation when your soul has internal clarity. And that clarity comes from radical acceptance of your truth. Stop trying to be palatable. Stop trying to edit your spirit. Stop trying to dim your light because others are wearing spiritual sunglasses. You were sent here to disrupt, to awaken, to challenge. And yes, that will make people uncomfortable. But discomfort is the doorway to awakening. So here's what I want you to remember. Your difference is divine. Not everyone will understand you. Not everyone is supposed to. But the ones who are meant to awaken because of you, they will feel you. They will resonate with your frequency. And through your authenticity, they will find permission to be themselves. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are not too much. You are a divine rebel. And your difference is not just the key to your destiny, it's the key to humanity's evolution. Now rise. Unapologetically. Unashamed. Unstoppable. The world has waited long enough for your full awakening.